Welcome back to my channel, USA Rare Coins News. Everyone, and thank you for joining me today on a journey into American history through one small but legendary coin, the United States of America 1 cent Lincoln Wheat Penny dated 1940, a coin that looks simple at first glance yet carries stories of hard work, hope, survival, and a nation standing at the edge of a changing world. Imagine the year 1940. America is still recovering from the Great Depression. Families are careful with money, children save pennies in jars, and the sound of coins clinking together actually means something. A single cent can buy candy, mail a letter, or help pay for a meal. This is the world where the 1940 Lincoln Wheat Penny lived, worked, and traveled. This penny was not made to be special, it was made to be useful. It passed through millions of hands. Farmers, factory workers, shopkeepers, and children all relied on it every day. Yet decades later, collectors would begin to see this coin differently, not as pocket change but as a historic survivor from a critical moment in American history. The face of the coin shows Abraham Lincoln, calm, strong, and thoughtful. His portrait had already been on the penny for over 30 years by 1940, making him a familiar symbol of unity, honesty, and leadership. Americans trusted Lincoln's image, especially as the world grew more uncertain overseas. The words "In God We Trust" above his head carried deep meaning. During a time when faith and perseverance mattered deeply, the word liberty appears beside Lincoln along with the date 1940, a date that quietly sits between peace and war. Just 1 year before America would enter World War II, this penny represents the final calm before everything changed. Turning the coin over reveals the famous wheat ears stretching along both sides surrounding the words 1 cent and United States of America. The wheat design represents growth, harvest, and the working people of the nation. It honors farmers, laborers, and the backbone of America during difficult times. This design would soon disappear, replaced by the Lincoln Memorial, but in 1940 the wheat penny was still king. The metal itself tells an important story. The 1940 wheat penny is made mostly of copper, giving it that warm reddish-brown tone that collectors love. Later wartime pennies would change metals due to shortages, making this one of the last true classic copper cents before the war altered everything. Millions of these coins were minted in Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco, each mint producing pennies with subtle differences. Collectors search carefully for mint marks. A small D or S can change desirability depending on condition. Many people do not realize they may already own one of these without knowing its background. Most 1940 pennies lived hard lives. They were spent, saved, dropped, scratched, and worn down over decades. Because of this, finding one with strong detail, clear lettering, and minimal wear is becoming more difficult with each passing year. Coins that still show original luster are especially admired. Some examples are even more fascinating due to minting mistakes, off-center strikes, double details, clipped edges, and other errors create one-of-a-kind coins. Collectors love errors because they are accidents frozen in time, never meant to exist yet impossible to ignore. Color also plays a huge role in how these pennies are valued. Bright red examples are the most desirable, followed by red-brown, and then brown coins. Each shade tells a story of how the coin was stored, handled, and preserved over 80 years. What makes the 1940 Lincoln Wheat Penny truly captivating is not just money value but emotional value. It reminds people of grandparents' childhood savings, jars, old homes, and simpler times. It connects generations and keeps history alive in the palm of your hand. Holding this coin means holding a piece of America before television, before highways, before digital money. It is a reminder that even the smallest objects can survive decades and still matter now. Let us talk about what everyone wants to know: the auction results. At auctions, common circulated 1940 Lincoln Wheat pennies usually sell for modest amounts. Well-preserved uncirculated examples have sold for hundreds of dollars. Top-quality red specimens have reached over $1,000, and rare high-grade certified examples, including error coins, have achieved auction prices climbing into several $1,000s, depending on condition, color, and rarity. Today we are diving into the story of a small copper coin that carries the weight of a nation at war, the United States of America 1 cent Lincoln Wheat Penny dated 1942, a coin that may look ordinary but was born in one of the most dramatic and emotional years in American history. Picture America in 1942. The country is fully involved in World War II. Factories run day and night. Families listen to radios for news. Soldiers leave home, and every resource matters, including metal, money, and time. This penny was minted while the nation was focused on survival, unity, and victory, and that alone makes it incredibly meaningful. The 1942 Lincoln Wheat Penny circulated during a time when people counted every cent. Children saved pennies to buy war bonds. Families reused and recycled everything, and a single coin still had real purchasing power. This penny was not just money, it was part of daily life during wartime America. On the front of the coin we see Abraham Lincoln, strong, calm, and steady. His image offered reassurance to a nation under stress. The words "In God We Trust" above his head carried even deeper meaning in 1942, as hope, faith and determination were essential to morale. Liberty appears beside Lincoln, reminding Americans of what they were fighting to protect, and the date 1942 marks a year that would forever be remembered in history books. The reverse side features the iconic wheat ears framing the words "1 cent" and United States of America. The wheat design symbolizes abundance, hard work, and resilience, qualities that perfectly matched the spirit of Americans during the war years. Farmers and factory workers alike played critical roles, and this simple design honored them all. The metal composition of the 1942 wheat penny is especially important. Most were struck in bronze, containing a high percentage of copper, making this one of the last years before major metal changes occurred due to wartime shortages. In 1943, pennies would be made of steel, which makes the 1942 copper penny a key transitional coin in U.S. coin history. These pennies were minted in Philadelphia, Denver and San Francisco, and collectors closely examine mint marks because they affect rarity and desirability. A small D or S below the date can change how valuable a coin becomes, especially in higher grades, because the nation was at war. Coins were produced quickly and heavily circulated. Most 1942 pennies show wear, scratches and dull surfaces from years of use. Finding one with sharp details, clean surfaces and original luster is becoming more challenging every year. Some 1942 wheat pennies also exist with fascinating mint errors, including off-center strikes, double details and planchet issues. Error coins are highly collectible because they are accidental rarities, each one telling a unique story from the mint floor. Color plays a major role in collector appeal. Bright red examples with original copper luster are the most sought after, followed by red, brown and brown coins. Many pennies darkened over time due to handling and storage, making true red examples increasingly scarce. What makes the 1942 Lincoln wheat penny truly special is the emotional connection it carries. This coin may have been used by someone buying rationed goods, sending letters to loved ones overseas, or saving for the future. It represents sacrifice, patience and strength. Collectors today cherish this penny not only for its value but for its place in American history. Holding it feels like holding a piece of the World War II home front, a reminder of unity and endurance. Now we come to the moment everyone waits for, the auction results. At auctions circulated 1942 Lincoln wheat pennies usually sell for small amounts. Uncirculated examples have sold for several $100s. High-grade red specimens have achieved prices exceeding $1,000, and rare top-condition certified examples, including error coins, have reached auction prices of several $1,000s depending on condition, color, mint mark and rarity. Today we are exploring one of the most meaningful and emotional pennies ever made, the United States of America 1 cent Lincoln wheat penny, dated 1944, a coin that was born during war, sacrifice and hope. Imagine holding a penny that circulated while the world was still fighting. World War II soldiers were overseas, factories were booming, families were praying for loved ones to return home, and every small object, including coins, carried weight and purpose. The 1944 Lincoln wheat penny is not just currency, it is a survivor of wartime America. By 1944 the nation was deeply committed to victory. Resources were carefully managed and citizens were encouraged to recycle and contribute in any way possible. Even metal mattered. Just 1 year earlier pennies were made of steel to save copper, but in 1944 the government returned to copper using recycled shell casings from the battlefield. This alone makes the 1944 wheat penny incredibly symbolic, as it was literally made from the metal of war, transformed into money for peace and daily life. This penny moved through grocery stores, factories, farms and homes while the war was still ongoing. Children saved them, adults spent them, and many people never imagined that decades later collectors would treasure them. On the front of the coin is the familiar portrait of Abraham Lincoln, steady, calm and dignified. His image represented unity, leadership and perseverance, exactly what Americans needed during the final years of the war. The words "In God We Trust" above his head carried powerful meaning during this time of uncertainty. Liberty stands beside him as a reminder of what the nation was fighting for, and the date 1944 marks one of the most important years of the 20th century. The reverse side shows the classic wheat ears framing the words 1 cent and United States of America. The wheat design symbolizes harvest, strength and the working class, farmers, factory workers and families who supported the war effort from home. This design would disappear only a few years later, making the 1944 issue part of the final chapter of the beloved wheat penny era. The metal composition of the 1944 wheat penny is especially fascinating. Most were struck using recycled copper from wartime ammunition, giving this coin a direct physical connection to World War II. Few coins in history can claim such a powerful transformation from tools of war into everyday money. These Pennies were minted in Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco, and collectors pay close attention to mint marks because they influence rarity and demand. A small d or s can make a big difference, especially in higher grades, because these coins were used heavily during wartime. Most examples show where faded details and darkened surfaces. Finding one with sharp lettering, full wheat lines, and original luster is becoming increasingly difficult as the years pass. Some 1944 wheat pennies are famous for their mint errors, including the extremely rare steel penny accidentally struck on leftover steel planchets from 1943. These error coins are legendary and among the most desired coins in American numismatics. Even regular errors like off-center strikes or doubled features add excitement and value. Color is another major factor. Collectors look for bright red examples with original copper shine, followed by red, brown, and brown coins. True red coins from 1944 are especially prized due to age and heavy circulation. What truly makes the 1944 Lincoln wheat penny special is its emotional and historical depth. This coin may have been used by someone buying rationed food, writing letters to soldiers, or saving for life after the war. It represents resilience, hope, and the belief in a better future. Holding this penny today connects you directly to a world of black and white photographs, victory gardens, radio broadcasts, and heartfelt letters sent across oceans. It is a reminder that even the smallest objects can carry enormous stories. Now we reach the moment everyone waits for, the auction results at auctions. Common circulated 1944 Lincoln wheat pennies usually sell for modest amounts. Uncirculated examples have sold for several $100s. High-grade red specimens have reached prices over $1,000, and rare top-condition certified coins, including famous error versions, have achieved auction prices climbing into tens of thousands of dollars depending on condition, color, mint mark, and rarity. Today we are stepping into a powerful moment of American history through a humble copper coin, the United States of America 1-cent Lincoln wheat penny dated 1946, a coin that represents relief, renewal, and a nation finally exhaling after years of war. The year 1946 was different from the years before it. World War II had ended, soldiers were returning home, families were reuniting, factories were shifting from weapons to household goods, and America was beginning a brand new chapter. This penny was born in that moment of transition when hope replaced fear and the future once again felt possible. This coin quietly entered circulation at a time when people were rebuilding their lives. It was used to buy groceries, newspapers, and simple joys that had been missed during the war years. A single cent still mattered, and every penny told a story of hard work, patience, and survival. On the front of the coin stands Abraham Lincoln, steady, thoughtful, and familiar. His portrait had guided the nation through decades of change. By 1946, Lincoln symbolized unity, sacrifice, and the promise of moving forward. The words "In God We Trust" above his head felt deeply personal to Americans who had just lived through global conflict. Liberty beside him reflected the freedoms that had been defended at great cost. The date 1946 may seem ordinary today, but it marks the first full year of peace after the war, and that makes this penny historically meaningful. It represents the return to normal life and the beginning of modern America. Turning the coin over reveals the classic wheat ears design, framing the words 1 cent and United States of America. The wheat stalks symbolize abundance, growth, and reward for labor, a perfect message for a nation focused on rebuilding homes, families, and dreams. This design was nearing the end of its long run, making the 1946 issue part of the final era of the beloved wheat penny. The metal composition of the 1946 Lincoln wheat penny returned to traditional copper-based alloy after wartime disruptions, giving it the rich, warm tone collectors admire today. These pennies were struck in large numbers to support a growing economy, and they quickly found their way into daily commerce. Mints in Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco all produced 1946 pennies, and collectors pay close attention to mint marks because they influence desirability and scarcity. A small d or s beneath the date can make a noticeable difference, especially when the coin is well preserved. Most 1946 wheat pennies were heavily circulated. They passed through countless hands during a time of economic activity and expansion. As a result, many surviving examples show where soft details and darkened surfaces. Finding one with crisp wheat lines, sharp lettering, and original luster is becoming increasingly challenging. Some examples feature interesting mint errors such as off-center strikes, doubled features, or planchet flaws. These accidental variations are highly attractive to collectors because each one is unique and Offers insight into the minting process of the time. Color plays a major role in collector appeal. Bright red examples retaining original copper luster are the most sought after, followed by red, brown and brown coins due to age and circulation. True red 1946 pennies are increasingly scarce and prized. What makes the 1946 Lincoln wheat penny truly special is its emotional context. It represents peace after hardship, the return of loved ones and the rebuilding of everyday life. This coin may have been carried by a returning soldier, a factory worker, or a child starting a new chapter in a changing America. Holding this penny today is like holding the moment America stepped out of wartime darkness and into a future filled with opportunity. It is a reminder that history does not only live in books but also in the smallest objects we overlook. Now we arrive at the auction results that collectors are most curious about today as we explore a fascinating piece of American coin history. The United States of America 1-cent Lincoln wheat penny dated 1950, a coin that quietly marks the end of an era and the beginning of a modern nation. The year 1950 was a time of rebuilding, growth and optimism. World War II was in the past, families were settling into new homes, cities were expanding and everyday life was changing rapidly. Television was entering living rooms, cars were becoming common and the American economy was moving forward with confidence. This penny circulated through all of it. The 1950 Lincoln wheat penny may look simple, but it carries the weight of a nation stepping into the second half of the 20th century. It was used by parents buying groceries, children buying candy and workers paying for newspapers and coffee. A single cent still mattered, and this coin played its role in daily life. On the front of the coin is the familiar and trusted portrait of Abraham Lincoln. His image had been on the penny for more than 40 years by 1950, and he had become a symbol of honesty, leadership and unity. The words "In God We Trust" above his head reflected the values of a country shaped by hardship and victory. Liberty beside Lincoln reminded Americans of the freedoms they enjoyed in a changing world. The date 1950 is especially important because it represents one of the final years of the Lincoln wheat penny design. Within just a few more years the wheat ears would disappear, replaced by a new reverse design, making the 1950 issue part of the closing chapter of a beloved coin series. Turning the coin over reveals the classic wheat ears framing the words 1 cent and United States of America. The wheat design symbolizes prosperity, growth and reward for labor, which perfectly matched the post-war American dream of stability and success. This simple design had been part of American life for decades and many people felt nostalgic attachment to it. The metal composition of the 1950 wheat penny is the traditional copper-based alloy that gives the coin its warm tone. Collectors admire these pennies were struck in large quantities to support a growing economy, and they circulated widely as commerce increased across the country. Coins dated 1950 were produced at multiple mint locations, and collectors carefully look for mint marks because they influence scarcity and collector interest. A small letter beneath the date can significantly affect desirability, especially when the coin is in strong condition, because these pennies were used heavily during a time of economic growth. Most surviving examples show where flattened details and darker surfaces. Finding one with crisp wheat lines, sharp lettering and original shine is increasingly difficult, and that scarcity adds to collector appeal. Some 1950 wheat pennies also feature minting errors such as off-center strikes, doubled features or planchet flaws. These unusual variations are highly attractive to collectors because each one is unique and tells a behind-the-scenes story of how coins were made. Color plays a huge role in value. Bright red examples that retain their original copper luster are the most sought after, followed by red, brown and brown coins due to age and circulation. Fully red examples from 1950 are becoming harder to find with each passing year. What makes the 1950 Lincoln wheat penny truly meaningful is its place in American memory. It represents a time when the nation was confident, forward-looking and focused on family, work and opportunity. This coin may have traveled through diners, schools, factories and small-town shops across the country. Holding this penny today connects you to a world before digital money, before credit cards, before online shopping. It reminds us that simple coins once powered everyday life and carried real meaning. Now we reach the moment many collectors are waiting for: the auction results. At auctions, circulated 1950 Lincoln wheat pennies usually sell for modest amounts. Well preserved uncirculated examples have sold for several $100s. High-grade red specimens have achieved prices over $1,000, and exceptional top-condition certified coins, including rare error examples, have reached auction prices of several $1,000s depending on condition, color, mint mark and rarity. If you enjoyed this journey into the 1950 Lincoln wheat penny, remember, history often hides in plain sight, so check your change, like, subscribe and stay curious, because the next great story might be waiting in your pocket.